So I wanted to say a bit more about this idea of chaos shamanism. Part three, probably be the last one, but let's see. It's quite a deep thing, this idea of chaos. We think of it as a superficial thing because things just aren't ordered. Things haven't been paid attention to. Yeah, it seems superficial, but that's the word using the word chaos to mean untidy, teenager's bedroom, disarray. Um, That's not the original meaning, as I said in the first one. It comes from the Greek and it refers to the vast abyss that was there before anything arose. Out of chaos arose darkness and night, yeah, Erebus and Nyx, the male and female dimensions of darkness. And out of them arose light. Also arose Gaia, the earth, Tartarus, the depths beneath. So everything arose. Yeah? It's the source of everything. Chaos is the source. Chaos is that potent source of life, of everything, of the universe, of the dreaming, of the creation, this ongoing creation. So that's what we're tuning into when we do chaos shamanism. We're tuning into that ongoing creation, yeah, that ongoing dreaming of who we are, and the collective dreaming of the universe that keeps it coming into being. But most importantly, this ongoing dreaming of who we are. We're tuning into that. We're becoming aware of that. Life isn't something that just happens to us, which is how it seems if you're just looking outwards. If you look inwards as well to the spirit, you realize that actually it's being created mysteriously. It's not under our control, like thoughts. Where do they come from? They just seem to come in, or feeling. Yeah, how we're feeling today, it's not something we decide on. It's something that we feel the victim of sometimes. Yeah? Our job is to come into relationship with it all, with this creation. And shamanism without the chaos can easily be religion. And in religion, you get in the way of the chaos. You get in the way of that access to spirit. You put up boundaries. This is how it should be. Yeah, this is how you journey. I read this long description on Facebook yesterday. Um, Someone had asked a question about journeying, and this whole description of the three worlds and exactly what you need to do where and what soul retrieval is about. And it just sounded enormously complicated. And it's not, it's simple. Everything is simple. That's what chaos reminds us of, that everything is simple. It doesn't mean you can't have complexity, but there's always simplicity behind it. So when you're doing anything, if you're in a sweat lodge, if you're on a journey to the lower world, if you're dancing around the medicine wheel, if you're doing an astrology reading, whatever it is you're doing, you need to be asking yourself, why am I doing it? What's the purpose of it? That is what gives the depth. There's always this very simple purpose behind everything, which is to be living from that deeper source within us, that thing that's calling us, that thing that is love, that loves life, yeah, that wants to live, that has living to do. We're living from that place that has living to do. And maybe death is when you've done the living that was to be done this time, and it's time to go off on the next thing, whatever that is. And so, like I said, chaos can sound like a superficial thing. Yeah. And you're the one with the real depth because you've done 20 years training with a Siberian shaman or a Native American teacher. Yeah. And that's got real depth. Well, it probably has. Yeah. So I don't want to go the opposite here. It's a delicate dance of appreciating the depth of proper training that takes many years. Yeah. And that being true to the spirit within us at all points. And a proper training should lead us to that point where you can just let go of it all. Sometimes you just need to let go of all those practices you've built up. However beautiful, like the sweat lodge, has got so much in it, so much symbolism. Everything is symbolic and it's beautiful. And of course, there's lots of different ways of doing sweat lodges, as many as there are peoples. Yeah? And the traditional sweat lodges, they will have a lot more of that kind of symbolic content than anything we can run. We have to kind of just be true to the spirit. Yeah. The last time I led a sweat lodge was about 5 years ago. It was lovely. It was like this feminine presence came in and took over, and she just led it. Yeah, and people had a really good time, and people experienced it differently. For some people, it can be really hot. Some other people, it's really gentle. The goddess took care of that. And I didn't have any much in the way of tradition behind me, just a few basics. But that's all I needed because I'd done the 20 or 30 years being with myself, which is the real training, and which any traditional training will be moving you towards. It'll stick you out on vision quests where it's just you and the nature. So yeah, chaos is a deep thing and it's a demanding thing. It's very demanding to keep asking yourself, what is the purpose of why I'm doing what I'm doing? It's much easier just to go to church on Sunday and do what the priest tells you, or go to the sweat lodge and do what you're told. Yeah. And of course, we need to do it because it's a collective thing and that has its own power and it brings community together and it has its own beauty. Can't remember what I was saying there. Anyway, I'm sure you got the point. yeah. We do what we're told, but within it, we need to be aware of why we're doing it. We're not just doing it because when we've done it, good, I've done that, I'm a bit sacred now, I'm spiritualist. No, there's no point doing it unless you're with whatever it is in you that you're here to be with. We all have something to be here with. Okay, that was the first point. I've got several more. So we're always going back to the source. We're always going back to the source with chaos shamanism. We're respecting tradition. Yeah. We really honor it. We really learn it when we're around it. But there's always that gap. So I'm just having a look at my notes. There's a whole other area that I wanted to talk about, which is a bit separate. And I probably won't have time for an awful lot of it. But in the same way that there's a gap between us and tradition, there also needs to be a gap between us and the collective values around us. Yeah. And they will overlap, tradition and the collective values, if we belong to a traditional culture. But certainly there's collective values around us. Now, they're not all wrong. Collective values are necessary. They hold the group together, just as religion holds the group together. But they are necessarily limited. And we need to be able to stand apart from that. And that's quite tough. And if you do this shamanic thing, you're probably part of the counterculture. It began in the 60s as a protest against the materialism, of society and the lack of spirit in society. It was necessary, but it has its own shadow. It was itself a rebellion. We need to be able to stand apart from that. The shadow of the counterculture is authority, is money, things like that. Is the world, thinking we're above the world, we're better than the world, we know better, that capitalism's evil and all that sort of thing. Well, we couldn't run it any better. You encounter this very often in spiritual groups of whatever sorts, this kind of putting down of the world. And it's like, we know better. The world's in a dreadful state. Well, the world's just the world. We need to be part of it. We're not part of a tradition. This is what happens when you're part of a tradition. You can feel you're above the world subtly, and it makes you feel good about yourself. Well, there's no easy get out if you're into chaos shamanism. You're part of the world. You're equal with the world. You're in the world, which is what we're here to do. And that subtle hubris is not there.